What's up, DBs? Coach Dee Maggitt here, former D1 defensive back. I played DB at the University of Hawaii 2010, 2014. This video is for all my athletes, my ex-athletes, all my athletes that are, coming to that point in your career where you got to start figuring out what you want to do, football or, your career, your athletic career is starting to come to an end. Before I get into that, I am doing a 4-day DB wide receiver QB Academy in Eugene, Oregon, Springfield, Oregon, July 15th to 18th. So we're going to go over technique, everything you're going to need to be elite in your next season, everything you're going to need to know in order to play at the college level. So that's July 15th to 18th. I'll put the link in the description. Um, so this is a topic that's near and dear to me because this is before NIL, so I'm gonna give you advice, and I believe this is gonna carry over. I would say NIL, having NIL will help you, and it will hurt you if you don't have the right mental, right? So, as an ex-athlete, we all go through it. Your career is over. Well, once you go D1, and once you the more success you have before you actually reach your goal, all right. So if the goal is the NFL, you get all the way here, right? You get to pro day, you get to your combine, you get all the way here, and it just doesn't work out. I feel like the higher you go, the harder it is for you to cope with like the reality that you didn't make it. And a lot of my teammates, so I'm 33 now, so I pretty much have been out of college for 10 years, a decade. Um, and I still see a lot of my teammates, drinking, smoking, partying, which that's not bad, but they're a shell of the person that they used to be, like, right? So when we were in school, you didn't drink, you didn't smoke, you didn't do any of that, you were focused on your goal. But then now that the goal didn't work out, I see a lot of people who knew the NFL wasn't reality. They quickly got into what's next, and they're thriving. And I see a lot of the primetime athletes who really didn't focus on their degree or really didn't learn any social skills, communication skills. So now they're kind of just out in the world, a shell of themselves. And I'm sure they're still thinking about the what ifs, because I still think about the what ifs, even though I'm past that, right? So for me, I would say, guys, like once you're in school, you really got to focus on your hobbies. Like, what are your hobbies and what do you like outside of football? And I would say, try to have it not be video games, right? So for me, I really liked media. I always liked movies. I liked acting. I liked working with kids. I liked being a leader in groups in terms of like um running events and things like that. So now that I'm an adult, I still went through my depression. I wouldn't say I'm depressed, was ever depressed, but I went through that phase of like, damn, like I'm going back home and everybody's like, man, I thought you was gonna make it. We thought you was gonna be the one. We thought you were gonna be the one, and you got all that social pressure of you feel like you let your coaches down, your teachers down, your cousins down, and yourself down. So I would say that the two pieces of advice is that focus on your hobbies and your passions when it comes to your major. So, like I said, I liked media and I liked I like coaching, teaching, being around kids. So I always, kind of did the Boys and Girls Club, YMCA jobs where we can do summer programs, things like that. So now as an adult, I'm coaching, I'm making content. I am building events, building camps, just like I said, building, different tournaments, building different youth programs. So I am working towards my piece of not making it through passions that I had before I really thought the NFL was a reality, right? So I was playing football, but I didn't really think the NFL was a reality while I had these other interests. So I'm able to better ingratiate myself with the real world of not being a pro athlete, like I thought I was going to be. And it still hurts. It's still in the back of my head. And that's because it takes some time to realize that, hey, it wasn't the coach's fault. It wasn't the trainer's fault. Yeah, you got injured, but that wasn't, did I really put 1000% into it? And I would say no. When I was at practice, when I was lifting weights, I worked hard. But like I feel like 1000% is when you're off the field, like when you're not at practice. Are you running hills? Are you seeking, track coaches? Are you watching film? I will say honestly, I didn't do all that. So at the end of the day, even though I felt like I did get hurt, I feel like the coaches could have done better by me. I did not put 100% in myself. So if I didn't put 100% in myself, I can't be mad when someone who isn't me and doesn't have my goals. Okay, they have their own goals, they're their own person when they don't put in 100%, because I'm not, right? So it took 5-6 years to really sit down and look myself in the mirror, and I feel like a lot of athletes don't. So when you go into school, you're making all this NIL, right? Even if you don't make it, okay, I still leave in college with 100,000, 200,000. Well, that 100,000, 200,000 can go quick if you haven't set yourself up mentally for what's next. Like I said, there's NFL players that have millions of dollars that go broke. I literally bumped into this NFL player who made $15 million in a ran down bar. I just went to go get some chicken wings on a Wednesday. He was blacked out drunk, recognized me, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing here? And he's, you know, jokingly talking about how he blew 15 million, right? And he's younger than me. He's like still in his 20s probably. So if he can blow 15 million, you can blow your 200K, 300K to a million if you don't have your mental right. So when you're in college, you know, you're probably not going to have time to go after your a doctorate. I would say research, where trends are going in terms of your major. But at the end of the day, when you guys are having this money, you gotta get into something that you're interested in, something that you're passionate about outside of football. Um, so that's my advice to all you guys, even though if you haven't gotten there, right? So if you're passionate with working with kids, if you're passionate with fitness, if you're passionate with health, if you're passionate with media, animation, computers, whatever you're into, make sure you go into college and you really explore that passion. Okay, doesn't mean that you're not giving 100% in football, because there is going to be a time where you've done the extra. Okay, you're eating right, your social life is right, you're busting your butt on the field, you're producing, but there is going to be a time where you're alone, and you still have to deal with those passions, deal with that downtime. A lot of people like to play video games and smoke. I wasn't one of those people. All right, I went to the University of Hawaii. I would just ride my moped, put my headphones in, and ride my moped around the island. That's how I dealt with my free time, right? So, but I didn't really. I wish I had been an intern at I don't know, let's just say Microsoft, or I wish I interned at, something into my hobby so I can slowly start working into that field. So, to all my teammates who may not have it figured out and are still looking, it's never too late to go into that passion, go into that hobby, and really pursue that. Because for me, I've coached and I've done camps in over 10 countries. My social media is doing well, and I want to continue growing that. I'm getting to other markets, but it took me 10 years to figure this out. And I'm not going to say like, it affected my relationships. I couldn't keep girlfriends around because, you know, I'm getting into this mode of, all right, I'm going to work, I'm coming home. I'm going to work, I'm coming home. And like, it would like drive me crazy that this was my life. Right. And so, I broke up, and I couldn't keep refused to have relationships until I figured out what I wanted to do. And now I feel like I'm there, and I'm working towards something, and literally every single day I'm waking up and doing something that I love to do. I'm gonna be honest, I'm making like $78 a month on YouTube, but like seeing it go from 0 subscribers to 1,000, 3,000, I'm at 4,000, seeing it grow while being able to coach and put on camps and make my own money. That's enough for me. And I'm not a millionaire. I'm not 100,000-aire, right? So, but I will say that I'm enjoying everything I'm doing, and it took me 10 years to get here, and I'm super excited for where I'm going next. So if you're an ex-athlete, if you're an athlete who's about to graduate and you want some advice on how to navigate the world after football, after sports, dealing with injury, dealing with, hey, should I transfer, things like that, email me. I'll help the best way I can. But this was more so for my teammates and anyone who's going through what I went through, and needs advice on when things get better. So just keep pushing. My last piece of advice is someone that gave me is he said, "Hey, my teammate," I was like, "Man, I'm about to retire. I don't know what I'm about to do. I'm scared." And he was like, "Dude, if you put the same amount of energy into whatever you do as you did in your sports, meaning you woke up, you ate, dreamt, slept, or in you know everything you did was surrounding by being the best athlete you can be. If you put that into anything, media, content creation, personal trainer, if you put that same amount of energy, you'll be successful." And I honestly think it was the best piece of advice I got at that point in my life, because it's so true. I wake up and every day I am thinking about content creation. I'm thinking about how to be better, how to grow, how to branch off, how to hit different avenues, right? So um, I'm excited about where things are going. I hope you guys learned something again. I hope you guys um, hit me up if you need some advice. Make sure you go to thedbnetwork.com if you want over 100 DB drills to help you be elite. I promise you guys, $50 is about what it costs for one DB session with the trainer, and we're going to give you all the technique, speed, and agility as well, and weight training in that DB mastery program. I'll put the link in the description as well.